So we're into the conclusion of Kill All Normies, which is the culture war goes offline. And so this is it. Nagle caps off things by talking about the suicide of Mark Fisher. He was the author of the Vampire Castle blog that was referenced in an earlier section. And he was a half-decent critic of some of the problems that have been existing on the left. How did people react when this news hit? Well, Stavers, a blogger, Twitter activist, and all-round horrible social justice warrior, was kind of typical of the reactions that we saw, reacting with glee and taking the opportunity to demonstrate just how right Fisher had been about sour-faced identitarians by being one, and ranting about left misogyny with all the self-awareness of a quadriplegic with depersonalization disorder. If there's something praiseworthy in Nagle's book, it's that she at least recognises the problems that exist on the left, how they've contributed to the rise of the right, and how they need solving and correcting. This is perhaps because this is the area she actually knows, and the arena from which she is coming. The money quote, perhaps, is this. It's where she says, "This anti-free speech, anti-free thought, anti-intellectual online movement, which has substituted politics with neuroses, can't be separated from the real-life scenes millions saw online of college campuses, in which to be on the right was made something exciting, fun, and courageous for the first time since, well, possibly ever." The problem throughout this book, though, is Nagle's near complete failure to understand the shift in politics from the left-right paradigm to the authoritarian-libertarian paradigm. The resistance to the social justice pseudo-left comes from across the left-right spectrum, but primarily comes from those with a small L libertarian mindset. Libertine might be a better way to describe these cultural libertarians, as Alan Bakari described them. There's that desire for individual freedom so much as possible that allows them to unite against, as Nagle says, the anti-free speech, anti-free thought, anti-intellectual social justice warriors, though many of them make pretenses to being intellectuals. The soul-searching that Nagle has engaged in is incomplete. While there has been a rightward shift, it's largely because the left has been so utterly toxic. But this supposed right shift doesn't really describe even the bulk of the opposition to social justice warriors. When they're decrying people like Sam Harris, Bill Maher, Richard Dawkins, and Majid fucking Nawaz as Nazis, then there's a severe issue. And it's one that Nagle went along with in part by calling New Atheism, for example, a rightward shift when it wasn't. Her biases render the focus of the book, this straw man, online right-wing insurgents that's the electronic equivalent of plywood soldiers and inflatable tanks, it renders that focus nearly useless. She doesn't appear to have done her research or talked sincerely, if that's even possible, to the very people that she seeks to describe. Where her insights are useful are where she turns her attentions to the failings of the left, of feminism, of civil rights activism, of social justice warriors. And it becomes apparent that she's accurate there, but because that's where she's coming from. I'm a left anarchist, in the far bottom left of the political compass. But I can easily, or more easily, have discussions and conversations with insufferable anarcho-capitalists or white nationalists than I can an authoritarian leftist SJW. The right-wing crazies want to discuss their ideas and believe that those ideas can stand up to scrutiny. The left-wing crazies want to choke out all discussion and don't want to test their ideas. They hide behind block bots. They deplatform people who present other points of view. They refuse to engage in discussion. Yeah, this is a mad state of affairs where white nationalists appear to be the more reasonable ones in their conduct, if not in their beliefs. In the end, is this going to do any good? Fisher's suicide didn't. The handful of reflective articles after Brexit and Trump haven't. The social justice warriors continue to double down even as the culture shifts against them, just as culture did after the bout of hyper-PC bullshit in the 90s. These social justice warriors will go down, but they'll go down fighting and calling everyone Nazis. And when everyone's a Nazi, no one is. But there are real Nazis out there, and when it comes down to it, someone's going to be called a Nazi who is one, and people are just going to ignore it because the term has lost all meaning. Nagle doesn't counter that danger in this book, and in fact she takes part in it by labelling the opposition to these authoritarian bullies as right-wing. That is a facile, shallow, surface understanding of what's going on. As to the right, now that they've had a whiff of power again, they're reverting to authoritarianism too. Genuine liberals, small L libertarians, and centre-left and centre-right are caught between these two unreasonable forces with no sane representation. That shift to the authoritarian-libertarian split hasn't yet made its way into our political structures and party systems. Maybe it will before it's too late. Let's hope so. As to the online resistance, I say keep it up. Even if people like Nagle are going to mislabel you, at least they're recognising the problems on the left. So keep it up. Shadowlay, my dudes. Shadowlay.